I think the easier portal discussion to have right now to start off is Texas getting Kendrick Blackshire out of the portal. Former Mesquite Horn product, former Duncanville product. He's coming to Texas, and I like the fact that you add a veteran presence at a position where clearly your two best players are young guys in that group. Like Anthony Hill and Leonga Lafau are both true sophomores. I think it's just a nice little safety net. I love the fact, and we'll get into this deeper, a wide receiver, but I love the fact that Sark really tries his best to not leave anything to chance. Doesn't want to get caught in a situation where they just have inexperienced guys at linebacker with David Benda and Kendrick Blackshire. I'm not saying either one of those guys is going to put up all Big 12 caliber numbers or even get that number of reps, but it at least gives you two nice safety nets in case something happens to Hill or LaFau. I love that about Sark, just not leaving anything to chance.
Yeah. Yeah, and Blackshire will also, he's going to play on special teams as well. That was what his primary role was on the Alabama team. And, I don't expect Blackshire to take any reps away from Anthony Hill or any of those guys. So,
yeah,
good Ed. You never can be too good on special teams. And also, someone who's been in the SEC and in a program like Alabama for the last 3 years, having more guys like that in your program helps as well. And the fact that it's a Kendrick Blackshire who's coming with years of eligibility and not a Jaleel Billingsley or a Jai Hall, like guys you kind of have to worry about in between the years. Blackshire isn't one of those.
No.
He's solid, and he's going to help this team a lot.
No, and at this point, Sark doesn't have to take chances like that. Like you look at I was thinking about this today.
It's the same thing we've talked about with their 2022 class. Like they wouldn't take not half, but probably about a quarter to a third of those guys nowadays. Yeah. It's the same thing with the early portal thing with the Jai and think like Ben Davis and Ovi Ogofu,
that's the group
guys.
I was thinking about. Yeah, so I'll look at their 2021 going into year one for Sark. I don't count Darian Dunn because he signed while Tom Herman was still the coach, and Sark honored the commitment, honored the scholarship. But Keelan Robinson was a really productive player at Texas, a game changer at Texas, just for what he did in the kicking game and for what he did in the receiving game too. I like Keelan Robinson's contributions. Ben Davis kind of was what he was. He had an injury history at Alabama, gets to Texas and gets hurt during summer workouts. Devin Richardson ended up being a backup player. I think Devin Richardson, I want to say, moved to fullback before he was done at Texas. Maybe play some running back. Ovie Gofu, solid contributor. Ray Thornton, solid contributor. Darian Dunn contributed, but other than Keelan Robinson, none of those guys were, you consider them frontline guys, right? I wouldn't, even Ovie Gofu, I wouldn't consider Ovie Gofu a frontline guy, but he was a guy kind of like what I'm expecting from Blackshire, a guy that you can put him in the game, give him a role, and you trust that he won't screw it up. He's going to be good enough that, you can trust him to do his job. But then, man, you look at this, and let's be honest, man, Sark took some of those guys because he had to. Yeah. The second portal class was kind of a mixed bag. You get Ryan Watts. I'll just run them down. Ryan Watts, Diamante Tucker Dorsey was a late ad. And that's the other thing, too, Jordan. People don't forget there's a second portal window that's going to open after spring ball. And Texas has had good success with late portal ads. They added Tuck for linebacker depth, brought in Tariq Milton as an insurance policy for Jordan Whittington, took a gamble on a Jai Hall, brought in Isaiah Nayer thinking he was going to be the number one. He said brought in Jaleel Billingsley thinking he was going to be a difference maker tight end, because I don't think they knew what they had with Jatavian Sanders yet. And then, obviously Quinn, kind of like Ryan Watts, was brought into – neither one of those guys was brought in to ride the bench. He brought both those guys in to start. So it's kind of a little bit of both, a little bit of some guys that, you took them thinking they can be difference makers. Other guys you took kind of hoping what they could become. But then this last class, with the Ryan Sanborn, Trill Carter, Adonai Mitchell, Jalen Catalon, Gavin Holmes, mean, even Catalan, before he got banged up, was playing productive snaps. It's just Jalen Catalan's downfall is what Jalen Catalan's downfall, unfortunately, has always been. His body just let him down.
Yeah.
It's
it's hard when you got that much tread on the tire and you play the way he plays and hit the way he hits, you're going to get hurt.
Dude, we talked about that. And like, and Sark got asked about that in the preseason too. Like, okay, well, and even last spring, like, what do you do? And even though Sark would never admit that Catalan was on a pitch count, like we could tell Catalan was on a pitch count. Like it just, you can't ask. It's like giving someone a Ferrari and saying, okay, don't see how fast you can drive this thing. Like, then what's the point of having the Ferrari, right? Like, if you tell Jalen Catalan to go half speed, then like what kind of player do you have at that point? You either get all of Jalen Catalan. I do like the fact for him that Barry Odom, kind of his old defensive coordinator at Arkansas, kind of threw him a lifeline, and he's going to get a chance to at least get some NFL tape out there at UNLV. We'll see what happens. But Jordan, we look at this portal class for 2024 in Kendrick Blackshire, Silas Bolden, Isaiah Bond, Trey Moore, Andrew Makuba, Matthew Golden. Especially compare to that first class, dude, it's a different caliber of player. And I think it speaks to the overall kind of big picture view I have of this roster. The 2024 Texas roster, this is the first roster that's going to look like a Steve Sarkisian roster. I know the guys this past season were Sark's guys, but the way Sark and Kyle Flood and PK, the way they want to build a roster, this is the first iteration of it, what it's really going to look like. If you gave them a blank sheet of paper and said, build your roster, this is the year where we're really going to see what that looks like.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going through the different portal classes right now. Texas is number 8, but has the highest average rating out of anybody I've seen so far, and I'm in the 30s now. But yeah, actually Ohio State has them beat by 0.17. But they're in 47th place currently with 4 commits.
One of the things I dig about Texas, Jordan, even though they might not offer kids, but how many times have we heard since Sark has been here that at various points in the cycle, they'll kick the tires on kids from San Marcos or Dripping Springs or, one of the Austin ISD schools or wherever it is. Like, they're going to kick the tires on guys that, hey, maybe not, but we need to be sure that we're not missing anything here.
Yeah. They definitely do a good job of making sure the bases are checked, and also just like showing face at the local high schools when everyone knows you're actually not recruiting anyone from there goes a long way. It really does.
Yeah.
And Sark and Nansen stopping by Del Valley, like there's one kid at Del Valley who will probably play Power 5 football, but in my opinion, probably isn't a Texas talent. But just going out there and showing that, like Bastrop, there's a few kids that are looking out and actually recruiting at Bastrop. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
Manor, there's no one at Manor right now that probably could play at Texas, but just going out there and the trip to Manor, I think, was to rehash some stuff. I know Texas and Manor kind of butted heads over Quentin Jordan's recruitment a little bit, but I know Coach Keller at Manor, and lately he said nothing but good things to say. So Tom Herman would have never tried to fix that.
No, and that's kind of been a weird deal. Like going back to like the Eric Fowler recruitment, like it just, and I think Eric Fowler's whole experience at Texas it just seemed like things hadn't been right with Texas and Manor since then. Like to your point, to add on to your point, like Blake Gideon was at Liberty Hill.
Yeah.
When is Liberty Hill ever going to have a kid that plays at Texas? I don't know. Maybe never. Maybe they'll have one. I don't know. But dude, can you imagine like if they ever do, like the fact that Blake Gideon stopped there on a random ass Friday in January of 2024 is going to make the difference for some kid, So I dig it from that standpoint.
Yeah, I saw someone earlier in the show was asking about maybe doing Collins, Jeff. Can we even do that? Like, is that possible with our setup?
I don't even know if we got that kind of technology, to be
Yeah.
honest. I'm
Well,
sure it
we'll have to
exists.
ask BK. He's boss man around this way. So
Yeah. That's it's above my pay grade. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't make the rules. I just try my best to follow them.
yeah. We just work here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just here so I don't get fired. So is that? But getting back to the portal conversation overall, of these guys Texas has in this portal class, I mean, and I say this with all due respect to him, when Kendrick Blackshire is your quote unquote worst take out of the portal,
Yeah,
that tells me of your 6 transfers, that tells me you probably put together a pretty damn good portal class.
yeah, yeah. No, for sure.
Because if you look at their transfer rankings, I mean, you've got Makuba's a 4-star in his transfer rankings. Trey Moore's a 4-star. Those guys are both 93 4-stars. Isaiah Bond's a 5-star. Silas Bolden's a 4-star. Blackshire's a 3 bordering on a 4. They've knocked it out. With the exception of defensive tackle, they've addressed the portal needs that they've needed to address.
Yeah. Jeff, do you happen to know where Texas is at with the scholarship count right now?
You know what? If you give me a second, I could probably do some napkin math because I just got to pull up the roster tracker. By the way, the scholarship tracker at Horns 24/7. It's an article that's on the front page. I try to update it as much as possible. If you give me, I want to say it should be either 87 or 88 because one of the last 2 portal moves and DeAndre Robinson getting let out of his letter of intent, those 2 should cancel each other out. But if you give me a second, okay, hold on just a sec. We got 5. By the way, just in case anybody was wondering, remember when Sark got the job and he was complaining that they had like 18 wide receivers and 8 scholarship offensive linemen?
Yeah, they now have 10.
10 wide receivers and 18
like,
scholarship offensive linemen. It's crazy how he's done that in that short amount of time.
They would have had 9. Well, shit, man. They would have had 8 if not for the transfers.
Yeah. Let's see, 18.
Whereas the O-line would have remained the same. It's not like they're portaling or really losing guys on the O-line.
Yeah, the only really problem I see is interior D-line. You've only got 8 right now. Yeah. 10 on the edge. Edge is another position, man, that I think you're ripe for some attrition post-spring. Just I think some guys will see writing on the wall, especially when you got a guy like Trey Moore. Like Trey Moore, if Trey Moore emerges as a starter, which he's going to get every chance to, trust me, you don't bring in a guy like that to sit the bench. There's going to be some dudes in that room that see the writing on the wall and probably decide, you know what, if I want to play, I probably need to do it somewhere else. Yeah. So, yeah, 87 right now is where I've got Texas.
As long as you have 85 by fall.
By the time everybody is enrolled in school, that's when you have to be at 85. So basically,
by June, you got to figure it out by April 30th when the portal window closes.
Yeah, and dude, you'll have
spring portal.
You'll have some guys hit the portal after spring ball.